And welcome to Smaulgld. In case you missed it, top gold and silver stories for the week ended July 2nd, 2017. I hope and don't believe there will be another financial crisis in our lifetimes. Fed Chair Janet Yellen expressed hope this week and belief that there will be no financial crisis in, quote, our lifetimes. Yellow echoes other timely predictions such as peace in our time. This time is different, and a record to stand for all time. Trump goes on a media bashing spree. We're going to cover that. And gold had its first monthly loss of the year. Gold sales at the U.S. Mint dropped further, while Indian and Chinese demands remain very strong. And cryptocurrencies have another volatile week. Let's get right at the news of the week. Top story: President Trump emboldened by hidden camera interviews with a CNN commentator, Van Jones, and a couple of producers by James O'Keefe's Project Veritas that expressed doubt over the Trump-Russian narrative and the bias at CNN. Well, that was like throwing red meat to Donald Trump, and he launched an attack on CNN, who had previously called them fake news and has at a press conference direct to James Acosta's face, and then he has repeatedly called CNN fake news in his daily tweeting. But now he has decided to launch a full-on attack, and now he's calling them fraudulent news. And this morning he tweeted this gem of a tweet which shows Donald Trump taking down a dummy, a CNN dummy, and celebrating the end of, there it goes, down CNN. Okay, so I think that is equivalent to Trump jumping the shark, attacking the CNN dummy, taking the CNN dummy down. Okay, now, the president also labeled morning talk show host Mika Brzezinski low IQ Mika, and later referred to her in a tweet as dumb as a rock Mika. And he called Joe Scarborough Psycho Joe. Now, Psycho Joe recently released an anti-Trump video entitled Mystified. So what we're seeing here now is total disrespect on both sides. The media has attacked Donald Trump, the picture of the woman holding up his head. They have referred to him as a clown, a thug, and Donald Trump has responded in kind by attacking, using ad hominem attacks and attacking the reporters personally. So now you have a very toxic situation where there seems to be no respect for the presidency or the president, and the president seems to have no respect for the media. So we'll see where all that goes. This is what I originally predicted as Trump turmoil. We're seeing it. It hasn't yet spread into financial markets at all, but we'll see how Trump handles his first crisis and what the media reaction will be. Normally, if there is a crisis, financial or otherwise, the media seems to fall in line with the president, but we don't know how that dynamic will shake out this time. Also, the House passed Kate's Law, and the Supreme Court partially upheld the president's travel ban. Now, the questions for the Supreme Court, remember recently last week we covered the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court came down, I believe correctly, that hate speech, so to speak, is protected by the First Amendment. It was a unanimous decision, and I believe they will also rule in favor of the president's travel ban on legal grounds. Here are the issues, because the statute is quite clear. The president is entitled to ban any, and that's the language of the statute, any class of people that he so desires if he thinks that that class of people would be dangerous to the country. So the Ninth Circuit, and I believe one of the other circuits, said, no, the president can't do that because if it's deemed to be, and it appears to be based on background information and things that the president has said, a ban on Muslims, well, then he can't do that because it violates tenets of the Constitution. However, that would make the ability of a president to implement a statute president specific. And that's basically what they said. They said, well, Trump can't do it because of what he said. That's very bad precedent. If the law is something they don't want the president to have, then you don't elect that president and give him that power, or you have Congress change the statute and don't give the president that power. So there's two options. You get rid of the statute legislatively and say we don't want the president, any president, to have that power to keep a certain group of people out of the country, or you don't elect the president to have that power. But you can't, by the judiciary, say after the fact, well, we don't think this president should have that power because of some of the things he said and his application of it. We don't like it, so we're going to strike it down. I don't think the Supreme Court will take that point of view that the Ninth Circuit took. Also, even more important, it's outside of who the president is. There's got to be the question of whether non-U.S. citizens with no nexus to the United States, other than a desire to enter, I'm talking about people just that are living in any of those countries that the travel ban was on. They have no connection. They have no immigration proceedings in front of the United States. They don't have relatives in the United States. They just want to come to the United States. Are they afforded the protections of the U.S. Constitution? Now, reasonably, that can't be the case. You cannot afford United States constitutional protections to people outside the United States with no nexus to the United States other than they want to enter. So I think the Supreme Court will rule in that direction. And again, if people do not like the travel ban, there is a democratic process to go through. But I don't think that the Supreme Court, if they're doing their job correctly, will look at it from a legal perspective and strike down the travel ban. We'll see where that goes. Now, in the economy, top story. Yellen yaks and predicts at the British Academy. Would I say there would never, ever be another financial crisis? Probably that would be going too far. But I do think we're much safer, and I hope it won't be in our lifetimes, and don't believe it will be. Okay, hope and desire. That's what you want to hear out of the Fed chair. That reminds me of, as I mentioned at the top, these other timely prediction, peace in our time. Neville Chamberlain goes out to speak to Hitler over his recent aggressions, and he comes back 10 Downing Street and says, "My good friends, for the second time in our history, British prime ministers return from Germany bringing peace with honor. I believe it is peace for our time. Now go home and get a nice quiet sleep." I'm surprised Janet Yellen didn't end her comments with, "Go and have a nice quiet sleep." She didn't say that. Now, is Janet Yellen even remotely close to being correct? Well, we don't know the future. But however, we have to define financial crisis. Now, if it's market-based, where central banks intervene heavily, well, maybe she's right. They can avoid any financial crisis, if that's how you define a financial crisis, just by central bank intervention, printing up as much money as they can, buying whatever assets they need to buy. But is that really what we mean by a financial crisis? Because is that just merely papering things over? I do find it interesting that she would make such a bold prediction. But then again, she used the term "in our lifetimes." And whose lifetimes? Hers? Everyone else's? The people listening? She's talking about our lifetimes, meaning during her term. Anyway, we'll just see what happens, but I'm not sure that she is correct. A financial crisis could happen at any time. They're not predictable, and especially not when you have the amount of debt that's in the system currently. If you want to see history, you can check on Neville Chamberlain. He doesn't say peace in our time here. This is when he gets off the plane, and he's explaining why he had this great deal with Hitler. And the title of this YouTube, which wasn't a YouTube at the time, it was a newsreel. It was called "The Man Who Saved Us from the Biggest War of All." Is Janet Yellen, should we do a video, the woman who saved us from the biggest financial crisis of all time? I don't know. Maybe they should make that YouTube now and then play it back in a few years and see if she actually is correct. Charts of the week. This one shows the real drop in gold sales. This is just Gold Buffalo. I'll have tomorrow in the coming week. I'll have the Gold Eagle and Gold and Silver Eagle sales, which weren't that bad, but the Gold Eagle sales were atrocious. But this one shows you here just 2,000 Gold Eagles sold in June. And this is a month by month chart for 2016 versus 2017. And you can see the last 3 months, not really selling many of the Gold Buffaloes. And I'll show you tomorrow, they're not really selling many of the Gold Eagles either. Another chart I've been following, and I will probably update once a week, is the Bitcoin Litecoin ratio. Not going to go into that right now, but you could check the YouTubes and the prior blog post on the Smaulgld website about why I believe the Bitcoin Litecoin ratio is important and is more relevant than the gold silver ratio. Here's the pitch to donate to Smaulgld via PayPal, via Bitcoin, or to become a Smaulgld patron. You can do so via the links below this YouTube, and you can do so at the Smaulgld website. I do appreciate that. Let's see what else we have. Okay, gold and silver. Gold actually closed down 1.2%, and silver closed unchanged. Silver was actually up 2 cents to 16.70, and gold was down below 12.50 to 12.41 an ounce. So the gold silver ratio ticked down a bit below 75, went to 74.73 to 1 during the week. However, during the month, it is still up about 2.35% to 74.73. Here's your 5-year chart. The gold silver ratio is not heading down, it has been heading up. Just remember, July, I think it's the 5th, is the major event to create massive gold price surge in 26 days. So says whistleblower Andrew Maguire. Okay, just keep your fingers crossed for that one. That was in King World News. We'll see if that comes true. There's your donation pitch again. All right, during the week, there's only one tweet here. I tweeted, how can someone sell 1 million ounces of gold they don't have by mistake? Now, this was in reference to actually 1.8 million ounces of gold, quote, sold on Monday in 1 minute. Just dumped, and that's really what drove the price of gold down. There was also a similar dump of silver contracts. Now, remember, they're not selling gold. They don't have the gold. They decide they're going to naked short, and they're just going to say, well, I think the price, I'm going to sell right now, and boom, they sell it. Drives the price down. No two ways about it. Gold and silver markets are manipulated. Everything else is manipulated, but they defend the concept that gold and silver are not manipulated. It's just astounding when you see trades like this, and courts have held that that's not manipulation. If someone wants to trade that way, could be a dumb thing to do. Doesn't matter. Courts don't get involved in the business decisions, so it's not actionable. The only way you can get someone who's trading like this and get them for manipulation, and then you probably only get the trader himself, is they have to say you have to have some intent. You have to show intent, not just that the trade looks really stupid on its face, and no one who's trying to make money would make a trade like that. The only way you can get them is if they have documentary evidence that says, yes, I'm going to go out right now, as they did in the Deutsche Bank case, and I'm going to smash the silver market, or I'm going to smash the gold price just because someone told me to, or because I hate gold. You're not going to find that in most cases, especially if it's done for the purpose of evading manipulative intent. U.S. Mint sales update. No point in going through them because they really didn't sell much during the week. They didn't sell much during the month. As I mentioned, there's a full American Gold Eagle report already up. American Gold Buffalo report already up on the website and in the YouTube. You can read that. I think it was entitled American Gold Buffalo Sales Near Extinct. And we'll have the full reports on the Gold Eagle and Gold Silver later in the week. If you want to buy Gold Eagles, buy Gold Buffaloes, buy Silver Eagles, buy junk silver, you can do so at the Smaulgld site or at the links below. It does help out the site. It's not an investment advice to buy gold or silver, but if you are going to buy, you've made the decision to do so, you've done whatever due diligence you need to do, please consider checking out the Smaulgld affiliate offers. There's 4 gold and silver bullion dealers you can You can check out, you can compare the pricing and shipping, and if you do buy, Smaulgld gets a small commission. So it's another way you can help the site out. You can also help the site out if you are indeed going to buy cryptocurrencies and you need a way to do it. You can do so through Coinbase, and if you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, they give you $10 worth of free Bitcoin. They also credit Smaulgld's account $10 worth of Bitcoin. Same advice. It's not advice. If you're gonna, it's not advice to go and buy cryptocurrencies. But if you are going to, and again, if you've made your decision independently and you want a place to trade, well, there you can try it. You can test that out. Coinbase has Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin available for purchase and sale. And here's where you can donate Bitcoin on the Smaulgld site. I also have a Litecoin address too if anyone wants to donate Litecoin. I haven't gotten Litecoin yet, although I've had people express interest in donating Litecoin, but that's not the same thing. Maybe in our time. Okay, what else did we have during the week? Now, the next day after some gentleman or gentlewoman sold 1.8 million ounces, someone bought like 800,000 ounces, 815,000 ounces on Tuesday. Put the price up just a bit. Also during the week, there were these Project Veritas videos. They said the date here when they were out. A lot of Fed chatter. Fed Williams, he's advanced economy, stuck in low growth mode. Fed Harker says there's not even point in reading it. They're just yakking. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't say anything. If you go back and read what they said months ago, they changed their minds. They just talk to keep the game going. And of course, Yellen also spoke at the British Academy and said she doesn't expect the crisis in her lifetime. Okay, U.S. economic data, still it's mixed. Confidence seems to be high in a bunch of different readings, including consumer confidence at the University of Michigan. Home prices seem still to be going higher. Stock market's still going higher, but the overall economy is basically languishing. There's Project Veritas. Van Jones says Russia is a nothing burger. There's an editorial. President Trump, please replace the dollar with gold as a global currency. That appeared in Forbes. And Russian bank dangles carrot of gold sales to Chinese leaders. So they would sell gold directly to China. U.S. advanced trade good deficits. It's still high. It's $65 billion a month, even though it was $67 billion the month before. But the May trade deficit was $65 billion. Pending home sales were down. Now here's an example. India's Paytm sees 100% month-on-month growth in gold purchases. It shows gold demand in the number one or number two gold consuming nation. India is still very strong, and it's very strong, as we'll see, and we have seen in China through the import numbers into Hong Kong and through the Shanghai Gold Exchange withdrawals and deliveries. Interesting story here. Probably one for Salivate Metal. Rare gold coin on repos techniques unearthed in, can't pronounce that, but that's somewhere in India. Click on that, you get a nice story. Another story, Gabriel seeks 4.4 billion after decades wait for Romanian gold. So some gold mining to happen in Romania. First quarter GDP, actually that's the final revision, 1.4%. We're probably looking at 2% for the second quarter. Initial claims, corporate profits. Okay, here's the Bitcoin Litecoin ratio charts. I'm going to start tracking this. There's a video on it. There is a blog post that you can bookmark to get the updates. But I think this is an important ratio for those who follow the cryptocurrencies to follow. And as I've been saying, and I think people are catching on now, that China, just because it has a lot of gold, is not immune from financial crisis. Because it has massive amounts of debt. And this is a statement from People's Daily Online. I don't see who this was. I read it earlier in the week. It says, China to continue to pile on debt, but they expect a stable increase in foreign debt. Okay, so they are basically funding their economy. They're not backing it by gold. They're funding it through massive credit issuances. Now we have this HKEX physical delivered gold futures exchange set to launch in Hong Kong and London. A lot of people think, oh, this will be it. This will be the price discovery. This will change everything. I don't think so. No more than the Shanghai Gold Exchange changed anything by having physically delivered gold contracts. Remember, COMEX, you can get physical delivery. People don't want them. But I say they don't want them. That's not why they trade the gold futures or the silver futures. They trade to get price exposure. But what's going to happen? The only way you can have a physically delivered exchange change the price discovery mechanism is if that is where the vast dollar volume of trading takes place. Well, you'll say, wait a minute, if they trade more gold, physical gold, than COMEX, well, that clearly would change it. No, it doesn't, because Shanghai Gold Exchange, as I've shown in many charts in the past, in 2 weeks will deliver or have withdrawn from the exchange more gold than COMEX delivers in a year. But that doesn't mean anything, because the volume of trading in dollar values, even though it's not physically delivered on the COMEX, dwarfs the physical deliveries. So unless you have physical deliveries being greater than paper contract trading, another physical exchange, in my opinion, isn't going to change a thing. University of Michigan, you see here, confidence up. It's still pretty high. And by the way, the Chicago PMI, the manufacturing index, was up like a multi-year higher, 65.7 normal. I think it's, yeah, if it's over 50, it indicates expansion. Below 50 indicates contraction. This had been low for a long time. It's now at 65.7. Personal income, not a bad number, was up, but spending was flat, and that means people are saving, which I think is a good thing. But the current day economists say, well, that's a bad thing, because they're not putting the money back into the economy. They're not spending it. They're stopped borrowing. Well, it's a good thing. Income goes up and your spending doesn't. That's a good thing. They like to see it the other way around. So what? Income is only up 0.1%, but spending is up 0.4%. That means they're spending money they don't have. I don't think that's a good thing. What else have we got here? More ads. Oh, another thing about these coin sales this year, I mentioned it in the video yesterday, but I think it's important if you are a coin collector or a bullion collector with an interest in semi-numismatics. This year is a low year, low mintage year. So take that for what it's worth. But if 2017 is going to be a low mintage year, many of these coins may have premiums on them in subsequent years. They may not, but they might. And I'm talking specifically now, it just caught my eye here, these America the Beautiful coins. Well, the effigy mount, 35,000, that's pretty low compared to some of the other America the Beautiful coins. But it looks like they've capped Frederick Douglass and Ozark National Scenic Riverways at 20,000. That would make them the lowest mintage coins in the coin's history since 2009. Here's the story on the American Gold Buffalo sales near extinction. And the last story put out this morning was, is gold backed by anything? Now, there was a TV reporter, and she was mocked for saying that, I don't even think it was her statement, I think she was quoting something, but she said, like, what's gold backed by? It's not gold, it's not backed by anything like the US dollar is. A lot of people laughed at that. And then the other day, Jeff Berwick from Dollar Vigilante, who's a huge Bitcoin proponent, and he's not against gold, he said that gold is not backed by anything. Now, I didn't give an opinion because this was part of the Smaulgld speculation series, but my opinion on this is gold isn't backed by anything because it doesn't have to be, because it's an immutable commodity and it is self-backing, meaning that it is what it is because of what it is, and it has its own properties and is desired as such, whereas the dollar has no properties, is not desired for being the dollar. It's only desired because other people want it. So gold, because it's immutable, any commodity, doesn't have to be backed because it in itself is the backing for something else. Paper needs to be backed because paper on its own isn't worth much. But someone mentioned coffee beans or oil or gold, especially gold, because it's immutable. It doesn't need to be backed by anything. It is itself the backing, and it's self-backing. Anyway, let me know what you think. Go to that YouTube and leave your comments below there. If you're not a Smaulgld subscriber, please subscribe up at the top, and also please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you very much.